Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Chrissy Nizer. I'm the administrator of the Maryland Motor Vehicle Administration and Governor Moore's Highway Safety Representative. I want to thank you for joining us today as we talk about the critical issue of impaired driving, especially as we approach that long holiday weekend. I know we're all excited about the 4th of July, but oftentimes it does involve drinking, and so we want to make sure that everybody is safe. In 2023, there were 621 fatalities on Maryland roadways, with nearly 20% attributed to alcohol or drug impairment. This was the first time since 2007 that Maryland experienced more than 600 fatalities on our roadways, a record that clearly we are not happy to see broken. We cannot continue to tolerate the poor and selfless choices that drivers are making behind the wheel, especially when they impact innocent motorists or road users. Impaired driving of any type is 100% preventable. These impaired drivers have hurt or killed moms, dads, brothers, sisters, and loved ones because of their choice to drive impaired. And I really want to emphasize that. It is a choice to get behind the wheel when you've chosen to consume, whether it's drugs or alcohol. I'm sad. I appreciate her being here, but unfortunately, you're going to hear from a mother soon who experienced that loss personally. Something that never goes away. It impacts the whole family. It impacts the community. You don't want to be the person that causes that pain and suffering. While we're doing our part to educate all Marylanders about the dangers of impaired driving, we're working hand in hand with our partners in law enforcement to ensure that if motorists decide to drive impaired, they're removed from the roadways before they can hurt or kill someone. In the last 2.5 weeks, there have been 650 impaired driving arrests by law enforcement officers across the state. Throughout the year, MVA's Maryland Highway Safety Office provides overtime funding for agencies to conduct high visibility enforcement and to help get those impaired drivers off the road. Ahead of this holiday weekend, 38 agencies across the state, plus all Maryland State Police barracks, as well as our Maryland Transportation Authority police detachments, are utilizing our grant funding for impaired driving enforcement. We are so thankful to our law enforcement partners and all partners who continue to help us in preventing impaired driving and saving lives. It is now my pleasure to introduce Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Pickett, who's the Bureau Chief of Field Operations for the Maryland State Police. We're 10 years into a partnership between the Maryland Department of Transportation and the Maryland State Police Targeted Law Enforcement Program, known as the SPIDER Team, State Police Impaired Driving Reduction Effort. The SPIDER team and some of the members behind us have worked really tirelessly to save lives since its inception. Please join me in welcoming Lieutenant Colonel Pickett.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for joining us here today to discuss a matter of absolute importance: the safety of all our motorists who are going to travel across our state on our roadways through this holiday weekend. As the 4th of July approaches, traffic will increase, with motorists eager to travel, to watch fireworks, to go on their annual summer vacations, or just taking a cookout with their family. From Western Maryland to the Eastern Shore, the Maryland State Police will remain committed to ensuring the safety of all those who travel on our roadways across this weekend. So far this year, troopers across the state in our 23 barracks have made more than 2,300 DUI arrests. Our SPIDER team, also known as our State Police Impaired Driving Reduction Effort Team, provides us with additional personnel to keep our roads safe. Since 2013, this highly trained group of troopers have deployed across the state to target those areas which have been identified as having high likelihood of alcohol-related collisions. They continue to focus on enforcement efforts in impaired driving, aggressive driving, speeding, and distracting driving, and other violations that contribute to highway tragedies. Our goals cannot be accomplished alone. We need strong partnerships like we see here today with the Maryland Highway Safety Office, who helps fund the SPIDER team to keep our roads safe. The 4th of July should be a time of joy, reflection, and celebration, and it should not be marred by preventable collisions and tragedies on our roads. Yet each year, we see far too many due to reckless driving or impaired driving. An average year, Maryland records over around 500 deaths on our roadways each year due to impaired driving, reckless driving, distracted driving, or aggressive driving. And many of these collisions are preventable. This year, more than 250 lives have been lost already, and the Maryland State Police have investigated nearly half of those collisions. Along with our enforcement efforts and our partnerships on display here today, we need the public's help. We want everyone to enjoy the holiday weekend and the summer months, but do so responsibly. Between rideshare services, taxis, public transportation, and selecting a designated driver, there's no excuse to get behind the wheel impaired. Distracted driving poses a threat to all that travel on the road. There's no phone call, no text that can't wait until you're off the road. Taking your eyes off the road just for a split second can have fatal consequences. Finally, aggressive driving. Aggressive driving behaviors such as speeding, tailgating, and weaving in and out of traffic only serve to escalate tensions on our roadways and increase the likelihood of a tragedy. Please obey the posted speed limits. Have patience. And please remember to adhere to the Maryland State's move over laws as it pertains to first responders, tow truck operators, work crews, and other disabled vehicles on the road. Remember that your actions behind the wheel have a ripple effect that extend far behind your vehicle. Together, let's make this Independence Day weekend not only a time of celebration, but also a time of responsible choices and unwavering commitment to safety. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Colonel Pickett. And again, we want to thank all of our law enforcement partners throughout the state. We could not do what we do without you being there to protect each and every one of us. Each year, we invite someone to share a personal story about the impact that impaired driving has had on their life. Each story, whether it's a loss of life or a life-altering injury to a loved one, shows that impact of drugged and impaired driving. Our next speaker has agreed to tell her story about how one preventable action can forever change people's lives. And I think there's nothing more brave than our victims getting up here and sharing their story with you, because there is nothing that makes more of an impact on me personally, and I hope on you as well, than understanding the profound impact that someone's poor choices can make. So I'd like to thank Megan Moore for being with us and welcome her to the stage today. Thank you.
Good morning. I am Megan Moore, and I'm here today to represent other mothers and families who have lost a loved one due to a drunk driver on our Maryland's roadways. I want to thank you for having me here today to share a little bit about my son, Private Noah Blonder, who was killed by a drunk driver June 5th, 2021. I struggle to find the words to perfectly describe my son Noah, as I know I will not truly be able to capture his spirit, his zest for life, his charm, and his unwavering loyalty to family and friends. His smile was contagious. Noah was a United States Marine, something he had talked about as a young boy. So I shouldn't have been surprised when he showed up home one day and told me he had enlisted in the Marine Corps. I remember him getting on that bus to Parris Island, knowing I would have no communication with him for 12 weeks, except for by written letter. And I was not too confident that I would get many of those from my 18-year-old son, because he was definitely more of a FaceTime kid. But I was pleasantly surprised to receive weekly letters that I cherished even more today. 12 weeks seemed like a lifetime to not see my son's face, hear his voice, hug him. It has now been 160 weeks since I have been able to do any of those things. And those weeks will continue for the rest of my life. Noah was home on leave early 2021. It was a Friday morning when he told me about his plans to go out that evening with his high school friends in downtown Annapolis. He had turned 21 while training in Norway, and this would be his first opportunity to celebrate with friends. His friends that he considered brothers from his beloved Mount St. Joseph's High School. He had a plan in place. He was leaving his car downtown and was Ubering back to a friend's house. I gave him a hug, a casual goodbye, love you, never imagining it would be the last hug, the last goodbye, the last time I would see my child. I don't know the exact details of that night. I cannot bring myself to know the exact location of where my son took his last breath. What I do know is once he and his good friend arrived home safely from an Uber ride, that at some point they got hungry and decided to go get food. Noah jumped in the passenger side and his friend got behind the wheel. On their way back, close to the driver's home, the driver, still impaired from a night of drinking and driving 50 miles over the speed limit on a road full of twists and turns, lost control of his vehicle and crashed into a parked car with such force it pushed the car into a home. I'm told Noah died instantly. Some people try to tell me to take comfort in the fact that it was fast, but there are no words of comfort thinking of the last moments of my son's life. My life was forever changed that morning of June 5th when I opened the door to police officers who told me my son had been killed in a car accident. But this was not an accident. This was a crash. A crash caused by a driver who made the decision to get behind the wheel and drive impaired and reckless. I have heard that phrase over and over again. My life forever changed when a child, a parent, a sibling, a friend is killed by a drunk driver. Victims struggling to navigate a new normal. So many people have been impacted by impaired driving, and yet this 100% preventable crime continues. If you are going to drink, please drink responsibly. And please, never, ever drink and drive. Thank you for listening, and thank you to the members of our police force for their efforts to prevent impaired driving and their dedication in making our communities a safer place.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. I do think we all know a little bit more about Noah and feel like we knew him. He was a hero based on his service with the Marine Corps, but his memory and the stories you share will make him a hero as well by saving lives. That's really the goal, and I'm so grateful that you're willing to share your, what I know is so difficult, your pain, but with the hope that it changes behavior so we don't lose loved ones moving forward. Thank you so much. I know no mother should have to go through what you've suffered. We've talked about the fact that this is a choice, and each and every one of us has a role to play in stopping the needless deaths that happen from impaired driving. Each and every one of us, every time you get behind that wheel, you're making a choice not to drive impaired, not to speed, not to be distracted. It is a decision that we can all make to save someone else's life and frankly to save your own life. So what we're asking everybody to do before you go out, before you celebrate this holiday, we want you to enjoy the 4th of July with friends and family. But please make a plan. Have a sober ride home. Make sure you know what you're going to do if you're going to consume. Most importantly, stick to that plan. Don't let anybody who's impaired, who's even had one drink of alcohol, drive. It's each and every one of us personal responsibility when we get behind the wheel to look out for each other, to look out for every driver on the road, to look out for our pedestrians and our bicyclists and our motorists. We all want to arrive home safely. We all want to enjoy the holiday with our friends and family. Again, I want to sincerely thank our Spider team. They do such a wonderful job in helping to prevent these kind of crashes from happening, getting the impaired driver off the road before the crash occurs, as well as all of our brave law enforcement throughout the state. I want to again echo Lieutenant Colonel's comments to keep them safe. Make sure if you see emergency personnel or anybody on the side of the road, even one of us with a broken down vehicle, please move over to make sure that they can do their job safely and that you can arrive home safe as well. I hope that everybody has a safe and happy 4th of July. Please also remember, buckle up every time. It's the best thing you can do to save your life in a crash. Thank you and be safe.